I got that turbo off. This was the wheel. Piece of metal got inside there and ruined the wheel. Also made a little shaft play on the bearing. And the problem was I was going to rebuild this, but everything's stripped. These bolts will come out, but all the ones on this part won't. So for the work it takes to get these in and out, I'll just buy a new one. I don't want to put a half-ass one in and then have to redo it. So I'm trying to sell this along with the stock exhaust, the original up pipes or charge pipes. Just got the 5-inch exhaust, waiting on a 4-inch down pipe, and this will be the out stainless. That'll be under the center of the truck, more or less, where you won't see it, and then hopefully just have the stainless on the outside. Just noticed this JB weld melted or spilled, so clean that up a little. Then I got the hydra tuners in, temp gauge, fuel pressure, EGT, and boost. And then I also added these hood scoops and this fan. So one's pulling in air. Technically I put that one on the wrong side, that's why I didn't do anything. Let me see. So there's the out. This is the actual inlet. That's pulling air in. That's over the intake. And pop the hood. And then the scan gauge 2. That's got these on it. It's handy. Most of the stuff's been under the hood that's been done. Oh, the DVD player, that's nothing special, but that I put in. Turn this off. Switch the headlights out. 6.0 headlights, I believe. So I got aftermarket intercooler pipes with better clamps. This had a slightly upgraded turbo. It already had the wicked wheel in it, and it looked like pretty much a factory remanned one. The only thing I did on that was a new seal because that was leaking. CVD fittings I did, as well as bigger banjo bolts. Definitely seemed to help with throttle response. New coolant, new oil, new radiator hose that goes around the belt, along with a new thermostat. Right on the side of that housing, you can see that's where I tapped in for the temp gauge. Fans in the hood. This one's blowing the hot air out kind of by the turbo. This is pulling cold air in right over the intake. This thing was insanely hot under here, so I did that. The riffraff fuel return, so it's no longer a deadhead system. Also got the crossover, oil crossover there. Trying to think, I know I did more than just them, but that's a good start of what I've done. New alternator from the parts truck. A lot of new fittings or sensors. New oil in the H-pop. Drain that out, put new oil in. New line for this. I did have the boost fooler piece in there, but I'm not using it right now because I think I got it set right to where the wastegate's pretty much at 22 pounds. And even with the tune, I'm still hitting right around there. I do have a 33-pound wastegate, but I'm not going to put it on this turbo because I'm going for longevity right now. I figure if I buy a new one, I'll set it up with that, and I'm hoping I could still dial it down some, but just be a better wastegate. And that's pretty much where we're at now. I switched back to the stock IPR. I just cleaned it. Here's where the boost fitting is. In the heater intake spot, you can get a adapter piece for that, so that's deleted. Yeah, the injectors I believe are all stock. I upped the fuel a little bit, and then the fuel spring in this as well. So pretty much everything around the fuel was my focus. A return, higher fuel spring, so there's more pressure inside here. And then I also gutted out the inside of the bowl. There's like a little spring and plunger and an O-ring in there. The O-ring was bad anyway, so I took all that out. And then those banjo bolts and CVD fittings, which made a pretty big difference on throttle response. And I would imagine they'll make a difference towing and hauling. And then the hydra tuner obviously made a huge difference. That really livened the truck up a lot. That's pretty much where I'm at off the top of my head of what I can think of. I did have an aftermarket cold air intake on there, but it wasn't a good one. It was a cheap one from Amazon. It was just folding up, so I got rid of that. Went back to the stock air box, added this fan for extra airflow, cooler temps, new batteries. Pretty much just maintenance and catching up on all the things somebody else neglected. And then the few performance parts that I did add were more for longevity and supporting the whole system, whether it's more fuel return. I didn't like the deadhead system. That's bad design. So I changed that with that riffraff fuel return. Otherwise, everything's been pretty good. I got a 4-inch downpipe coming. That'll be the last of what I need to do, because when I finally got this thing all figured out, it was actually the exhaust that was clogged. After I got the O-ring in the turbo and I was getting boost back, the exhaust was actually affecting it making power. So I took it off, I unbolted it, and that's how I figured out that that's what it was. But now I got the 4-inch downpipe and that 5-inch exhaust you saw. That's going to go on it. And then I'll pretty much be done with this performance-wise. I'll just be doing maintenance and the simple stuff after that. Pretty much the intercooler pipes, the wicked wheel, 4-inch downpipe, fuel return, CVD fittings, and the banjo bolts, and then the hydra tuner. Those are kind of like the recommendations of what I'd build your truck around to have the hydra tuner, honestly. That's a safe bet. You're going to be breathing and exhaling well, and everything else should run pretty good after that. So, like I said, a big part of this issue with the truck was that exhaust was clogged up, and it had the pre-filter and a muffler on it. I'm not sure which one clogged up, but now that that's off, it's getting full power and a noticeable difference. So something to think about if yours is lacking power. Then also something I did was stick a bicycle tube inside here and went around that ring. Some of these clamps, I really don't like how they clamp. They're not really designed to be tight, in my opinion. So I added that just to stop any air from escaping. But otherwise, those are the main things that I've done, and those are the main things that I suggest doing. I can't wait to start driving this truck. Hopefully by this weekend, she'll go on her first adventure. I'm still waiting on the downpipe and finishing the exhaust. That's pretty much where I'm at now. But come a long way from when I got it. Not really running, dumping a bunch of oil. I pretty much figured all that out. And see what happens when I'm actually running it and testing it. But so far, so good.